Hi, I'm Shawnalei, and this is Selling the Hawaiian Way. Oftentimes, my clients have no clue about what in the world title insurance is. I think that some real estate agents don't even know what title insurance is. So I sat down with Mr. Title himself, a very good friend of mine, Yossi, to give us all the ins and outs about what title insurance is and why it is that you need it. Yossi, thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to be learning all about title insurance, basically the ins and the outs. Yossi is from Insignia Title, and you are going to educate us today. So what is title insurance?
So title insurance is an insurance policy you purchase anytime you purchase a piece of property or you refinance a piece of property. There's several types of title insurance, basically.
Okay, but hold on though.
Okay.
So that includes condos, townhouses, commercial property, houses. Does it include co-ops?
Co-ops are not included in title insurance. There is a product for it, but it's not traditional title insurance.
Okay.
Since you're not buying real property when you buy a co-op.
Right.
You're buying shares
That's right.
in a corporation.
Right.
So that's kind of covered under the bylaws and the corporation itself.
Okay.
But as far as all those other properties, whether it's a house or a condo or a building or anything that's actual real property or piece of land even.
Yeah.
If you're buying a piece
of land too?
You got to get title insurance on a piece. Because
Okay.
ultimately what you're purchasing the insurance on is more the property that you own than the actual structure. The structure is there,
I see.
but we're really focused on ensuring the land that you own, that you actually own that land, and the building built on it obviously you own as well.
Yep.
And that nobody shows up out of the woodworks and says, I own it, or I have a lien on it, or there's a lawsuit against it. There's various things that can come up through the process that we find out. And as we prepare reports on each property, we will pick up any issues and work through that with the attorneys and the brokers and the mortgage brokers to clear them up so that when you do buy your property and you are issued a policy, it is free and clear of anything that can affect you later on, or at least will inform you of what issues there are, so you know that you're buying it subject to possibly an easement or maybe even a loan that's on the property.
Basically make you aware of
it
whatever.
Makes you aware and protects you, you know, you're protected. So you're going into the transaction educated and not blind as to what affects your property.
Right.
Each policy that we create is specific for the property.
Oh,
in other words, it's not a general kind of, hey, here's a policy.
It's not a one size fits all.
No.
Got
it's very custom to each property and each individual. We have to research the sellers, the buyers, everything that's been on the property. We do a full search on it, and based on that, we're able to provide a product which says, here's your property, here's what you own, here's what you may not own, and here are the issues, and then we work through it. And that's how in the most simplified form, that's how the product works.
So you had mentioned if somebody comes out of the woodworks.
Correct.
Has anybody come out of the woodworks so far?
So it's funny you mentioned that. We recently had a closing on a property, I believe in Brooklyn. It was sold out of an estate and even signed off by a judge. The judge signed off on the sale. However, once we closed and recorded the deed, we don't know how, but somebody showed up and said, I own this property. They
just randomly showed up.
Just randomly showed up, filed a suit, got an attorney.
They show up to the house? Like how'd they notify anybody?
Well, every time a property is purchased, we have to record a deed. We have a certain amount of time, a deed has to be recorded, and there are people out there, whether they're waiting to see it, whether they're just tracking random stuff, whether, I don't know what goes through their mind and how they get to this point, but people will show up. Out of nowhere, we could be working on this for a year and a half, not a word. The second that deed goes up, whether it gets triggered because somebody lets them know or they're following it, or maybe they think they have an interest in a property. There are many times where people think they do have an interest in a property and they're not correct. They will file a suit, and then part of what we have to do is, even if it's frivolous and we don't believe that there is a claim, once we issue a policy, we are responsible for defending that policy. So now we are in the process of potentially defending a frivolous suit, but that's why somebody gets a title policy, so that when these things do arise, you don't have to deal with it.
Okay, so on that same note, what if that person didn't purchase title insurance and you run that same exact scenario and they didn't have title insurance, what would happen?
So say they did sue and there was no title insurance.
Yeah.
First of all, just right off the bat, the owners of the property would now have to spend money defending that suit.
Oh,
and
I see.
Just for argument's sake, say the property was $1 million, you're talking about maybe $3,000-$4,000 in actual premium,
Okay.
a one-time fee.
Yeah.
I can assure you defending a lawsuit will cost a lot more than $3,000-$4,000.
Right, yeah, because you got to hire a lawyer, you got to go through all that. Yeah.
Time,
Oh God,
exactly.
who wants to do that, right?
It's a pain. It really is a pain.
Just thinking about it.
And then to go one step further, say this person does have a claim. Say the heir to the estate did leave them something and we weren't aware of it, or it was hidden or wasn't disclosed, but they technically own that property.
Okay.
We may have to make them whole and reimburse them to a percentage of that property. They're theoretically part of the selling entity.
Yeah.
Sellers are gone, they've been paid their money. Now this person shows up, says, I own 20% of this property. It sold for $1 million.
And who pays? Does the buyer pay or does this title insurance company pays? Like,
if it's a legitimate claim,
Okay.
the title insurance company will be required to make payment on it.
oh wow.
So you could buy a policy for $5,000 on $1 million, $1.5 million, whatever it is, the pricing. And theoretically, if you had a complete loss, which is rare, but if you did have a complete loss, if we missed a deed, an intervening deed, we would have to pay that full amount. If it was a legitimate loss, we would have to pay it. And I think I heard somewhere years ago, pre-COVID, when I used to go to more in-person meetings, one of the underwriters paid over $500 million in claims during a calendar year. So there are claims that do get paid.
That's a lot of money.
It's just a matter of doing your job right. That's the beauty about title insurance. If we do our research correctly and we can avoid all of these problems, it's a policy that theoretically you hopefully will not have to use.
All right, guys, I hope you found that helpful. And until next time, ahui ho.